During the campaign, Arizona Senator Jeff Flake was one of Donald Trump's loudest Republican critics.
We cannot, for the future of the party, be associated with this kind of message and with this kind of tone and tenor. There are certain things that you can't do as a candidate, and some of the things he's done, I think, are beyond the pale. To put your own judgment, his judgment, above that of the intelligence communities is frightening, frankly.
He can't win, and frankly, he shouldn't win an election if he continues to use this kind of language and to espouse these kind of positions.
There was a letter from
Senator Flake is with us from Capitol Hill. Senator, good morning.
Thanks for having me on.
The man you called frightening, beyond the comments he made beyond the pale, now he's the leader of your party. What do you think is the biggest challenge going forward?
Well, the only consolation is being wrong is I wasn't the only one wrong in terms of his ability to be elected. So, no, there are a lot of big challenges going ahead, and he's putting together his team. It's never easy to do, particularly when you're coming in not having been in government, so let's give him some space to do that.
Do you have some concerns, as the reporting details, that the Trump transition team is in disarray, that they are slowly moving forward, that there are officials at the Defense Department and State Department who said they have not yet been contacted by the Trump transition team?
Well, I'm not sure at what point they've traditionally been contacted, but I think we've got to give them some space here to put the team together. It's, like I said, it's a tough thing under any circumstances, but under these circumstances, I think it's doubly difficult. So I'm certainly willing to give them some space to do so.
I assume, Senator, that includes Steve Bannon, his chief strategic advisor in the White House?
You know, I don't know him at all. I hadn't heard his name until a few months ago when he joined the campaign. So I haven't studied to see what remarks were actually his.
Let me change the question then, because I hear you and we all hear you. What is your test? When will you say, I'm satisfied, or this goes beyond where I'm comfortable?
Well, like I said, let's give them some space. I'm of the mind to always give the president a lot of deference when he's putting together his team. And so I think that we need to wait and see. I haven't read exactly what he said. I just have seen some things attributed to the publication that he used to run. So anyway, I'd want to see more before rendering judgment there.
Well, when you've heard what he stands for, what it's been reported that he stands for, does that concern you? Everyone keeps saying, well, I don't know anything about him, I don't know him, I haven't met him. Right. But when you hear about what he allegedly stands for, does that concern you?
Well, when you see things that are printed in Breitbart and some of the headlines and whatnot, of course that's concerning. How much he can be blamed for that, that's another question. So let's give some time and some space here and see where it goes.
Let's talk about the suggestion of Rudy Giuliani as Secretary of State. Rand Paul did an interview last night. He said, you want a diplomat, not a bomb thrower in that position. What do you think about the suggestion of Rudy Giuliani being Secretary of State?
Well, there's some other names floated as well, Bob Corker and others, and I don't want to make a comment that would influence Trump administration one way or another. So I'll keep my comments to myself there.
Okay.
But obviously we want somebody who can be effective there, and I really like Bob Corker. He's been a very effective chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee here.
Yes, you're on the Foreign Relations Committee. Would it raise concerns for you if President-elect Trump nominated someone to be Secretary of State who has business ties and has received money from Qatar, from exiled Iranian political parties, from Russia, Venezuela? Does that complicate things?
Well, I've seen that being reported, but I would want to look at, see what's actually real and what's not. Was it just a speech given or something else? So I'll reserve judgment on that.
Senator, what is the most positive thing for you in the election of Donald Trump?
Well, the ability to actually go and repeal Obamacare and replace it with something better. That's a big thing. To actually go at a lot of the regulations that are hampering small business and big business, and really hampering the economy. To have more conservative appointments to the Supreme Court. These are all very positive things, and I hope that we have an effective administration. As mentioned, I did not support the candidacy of Donald Trump. But going forward, we have no choice but to look for the good and assume the best and move ahead.
Well, Senator, wait, before you go, you are proposing a proposal. You're opposing a proposal that would soften restrictions on earmarks. So when the funding for certain projects are included in unrelated bills. Can you tell us why that is so important to you?
Well, it's extremely important.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that Republicans were driven out of the majority in 2006 was rampant earmarking that was both wasteful and corrupting. That's one reason that we got out of the majority. I would hate to bring earmarks back now. And when we're talking about draining the swamp, the last thing we ought to do is go back to these parochial projects that are extremely wasteful and corrupting.
Well, many have argued that those earmarks could help get Congress working again.
Oh, there's certainly those who say that it greases the skids for legislation to pass. It does, but often it's legislation that we shouldn't pass. So it does grease the skids, but usually to big bloated appropriations bills. We're $20 trillion in debt and running a $500 billion deficit every year. The notion that we ought to bring these projects back that will simply lead to more wasteful spending is absurd. So I hope that we consider it closely before doing it.
All right, Senator Flake, we thank you very much for your time.
You bet. Thank you.